Hello and welcome to the ACES webinar on engaging students and staff on energy. So on this recording, we're looking at benefits of engaging students initially on energy issues. Areas that this will cover are developing skills, how it fits with the curriculum, supporting ongoing activities in your school, and how students can help you report issues. So we're going to look today at some resources for school activities. Before we look at this, I'd like you to have a think about what the purpose is of the activities you're trying to run. So that might range from, are you simply, and importantly, of course, trying to reduce the school's energy use for the actual building you're in? Are you trying to educate the students and pupils generally on environmental issues? Are you looking for a long-term program or a short-term, either one-off day or perhaps a 6-week program? And are you particularly looking to support the curriculum lessons for the teacher? Or again, are you possibly looking for a one-off day event? So there's lots and lots of excellent resources out there. However, to help you refine this a bit, we're just going to highlight some to you now. So firstly, the Centre for Sustainable Energy. This website has very good resources for primary and secondary. For primary, it's things like activities on arts and crafts and colouring. Secondaries are particularly strong on, I would say. They've got some really interesting activities and games for secondary schools that go right up to sixth form. I think if you're looking for that sort of debate and things like that, that's a really good website. Moving on to Energy Heroes. So this really focuses on numeracy and science linked to climate change. It's got lesson plans aimed at Key Stage 2, although of course you can always look at those in other areas. But again, 6 lesson plans, so very much a program that you can see once a week for 6 weeks, and that's really links in with delivering numeracy and science, but through the eyes of climate change. And lastly, the Eden Project, which you'll be familiar with. So the Eden Project always thinks a little bit differently, doesn't it? So this is, again, aimed at years 5 and 6, Key Stage 2. There's a couple of parts of this. Pupils start with an action plan for the school, which you might really love, looking at how the energy can be reduced in the school. However, they then go on to second part, which is a longer term. It's looking at new ideas, new thinking, how the students and pupils can look at that and say, oh yeah, there's some really positive stuff coming out. One of the things that they look at on that program is how the Inuits of Alaska interact with the natural world and how we could potentially be replicating that sort of Inuit attitude to how we interact with the world. So these 3 programs are all ones that are worth looking at for particularly to support on lesson plans. Moving on. There's some websites that have got longer term goals and achievements. I think many of you might already be aware of the Eco Schools program. It's been running for many, many years, and it's been highly successful in engaging schools to make all sorts of changes, not just in energy, but in waste and in transport, all sorts of different areas. It is both a primary and a secondary program. If you're not already aware of it, it's definitely worth a look. They've got some really, really good resources on there. It is a longer term program. It's it's looking for 1 year, aiming for an Eco Schools Award, and then continuing that journey for several years. The next one I'm going to mention is Let's Go Zero. This is a national campaign. They claim they've got over 1,800 schools involved now. It's about setting low carbon targets. And it's also about schools sharing information with each other. And lastly, one of the aims of Let's Go Zero is campaigning to government, using the power of multiple schools to be campaigning to government about what schools support is needed, both for your buildings and I guess for your energy bills as well. So that's a good one to look at. And lastly, the Energy Sparks program, which is they've got apparently 670 schools signed up at the moment. They've got some really good practical action sheets to download. Now, I mentioned at the beginning, one of the things you might be interested in is simply to reduce the energy use in your own building. So Energy Sparks have some helpful sheets on student power, going around to make sure that lights are off at lunchtime, that electrics are turned off, that things like the students are going around and recording what uses energy in the school. And so there are some very practical worksheets on the Energy Sparks, which is particularly about practical ways to reduce the energy in your school and getting students involved. So there's one or two other websites that got some nice case studies on them. I'm not going to talk through all these ones, but these resources will come out to you later in the week. And please feel free to look those up as well if you want some inspiration. And lastly, there are some resources on other school topics which you may already be familiar with. Maybe some of you are already doing Eat Them to Defeat Them, which is all about, as you can tell from the image, getting students, pupils to eat vegetables. But these sort of programs are supported by Ulster County Council and could link in very well with a whole kind of sustainability program within your school. Okay, so, oh yeah, sorry, that top one is about the County Council School Streets program, which again is about school transport and reducing car miles by reducing the number of, it's a travel sustainability program. And Our World, Our Future is Oxford Brookes program. So do take a look at those when you've got time. So moving on from the pupils and students, how can we engage staff? So a campaign can engage staff who want to act, who feel that they really want to get something done. A campaign can connect learning and the reality in school. It can acknowledge, gain acknowledgement from senior management team and governors that can help motivate staff. Okay, so tips for successful staff engagement. Let's have a think about this. So staff have so much going on in the background, whether they're teaching staff or support staff, that they need a specific goal that is clear and achievable. So think about what that's going to be, agree that with them so that they've got something to aim for. Focusing on wasted energy and not poor building quality. It's really easy to put the blame on the building. However, wasted energy is something that everybody can tackle in some small way. And communication. So as you communicate this program, the campaigning that you're doing with staff, just remember that the lifespan of notice on a staff room door is very, very limited, that you need to refresh and plan to refresh on a regular basis. And using incentives of some kind wherever possible. I think we'll talk more about this in the next slide. So I want to introduce you to a concept that I heard about 2 or 3 years ago, and I thought it was absolutely wonderful at the time. So fish in the pond is what are motivations, staff motivations in this case, or it could be motivations for your extended family. You can use this in lots of different ways. So I want you to consider, I'm not a fisher, but I understand this concept that when you're fishing, you tie different types of bait on the end of the fishing line, and different fish will be attracted to different kinds of bait. Therefore, when you cast your line into a pond with a particular type of fly on it, then immediately some fish will be attracted to that and grab onto that fly, while others will be disinterested. So bear that in mind as we talk through this. How will a campaign engage different people? So the first cast I'm going to make, with probably a green fly on it, is carbon reduction. There will be staff who are keen to reduce impacts from climate change. Everybody is, universally, people are concerned about climate change. However, there will be some members of staff that are very, very keen that generally to reduce the school's impact and their own impact on climate change. And they're probably already doing quite a lot of that at home, quite a lot with their family already. And if you say this campaign is going to reduce carbon, they will immediately say, I'm in, I want to help. But that won't get it for everybody. Some people are just think it's a bit of a waste of time at the moment, that they just can't do enough. So let's think about something else. Cost savings. So this would be a different, maybe this is a blue fly that's tied to the end of the fishing line. And this time you're going to cast your line and see who's really motivated by cost savings. This might be the business manager, it might be the head teacher, it might be the finance manager, various people that might be concerned about cost savings. For those that are keen to reduce the overall energy bill, then cost savings is the one that's going to be the thing that says, yes, I'm in, I want to be part of this campaign. Next one is efficiency. So maybe it's not carbon reduction, maybe it's not cost savings, but maybe you're going to cast your net out there. Sorry, it wasn't a net, was it? You're going to cast your line with a fly that has efficiency on it. We all know people who just hate any type of waste. That can be somebody that's throwing out a double-sided piece of paper, to somebody that is picking up a can in the playground, and instead of putting it in the recycling, that they're just throwing it in the bin. Lots of people are, maybe it's clothing. You know somebody that always recycles all their clothing to the charity shop. Some people just hate waste, and that can be, if you say we are wasting energy in this building, they'll say, let's stop that, I'm in. Okay, so the next one is educational resources. So energy savings that translate to cost savings can translate to core budget spending. So if you say, particularly to teaching staff, probably, that if you make the cost savings, then we have further money to spend on what you really want to spend on, which is teaching resources, then that can be the motivator. Or it could be that it's a bit more serious than that. If you share the cost savings and say this is going to affect how many support staff we have next year. And let's face it, energy costs are really going up in schools just now, and that is it is a reality. Perhaps that's what's going to motivate them to say, yeah, I get this, we need to prioritize this now. And finally, so if you've cast your line into the pond and there's some people still swimming around in the pond that are showing no interest in carbon reduction, cost saving, efficiency, or educational resources, there will be some, and again, we know these people, who love the thrill of winning. So that might be whether they're fiercely competitive in the arts competition, the drama competition, on the sports field. They're people that are motivated by winning. Therefore, if you set up a challenge, whether that's a challenge for their class to achieve over another class, or it's a challenge of saying how many students can answer quiz questions, those sort of things can work well for some people. So that's perhaps a little slightly different way of thinking about how you can motivate staff. Just really think about what their motivations will be and channel your resources into what will motivate them. So in summary, what engagement actions will you take? So firstly, review the resources provided here for students, including lessons, awards, and case studies. Again, thinking about what purpose you have and who's going to deliver it. A school's education program might be delivered by the business manager, class teacher, subject teacher, support staff, or perhaps if you're very, very lucky, you might have a member of staff that's been given a TLR for an environmental program. Review other resources as needed, which again, we're going to circulate to you. Plan a staff engagement campaign, make sure a senior leadership team are involved with that, and make sure that there's a purpose to that engagement campaign. And lastly, as we've looked at that, fishing in the pond, consider how campaigns will appeal to different staff motivations. So I hope you got something out of this recording today. Please get in touch with us if you'd like to know more. The acschool.org, or register for a free webinar or workshop and get in touch with us. Thank you very much for listening today.